Chapter 6. The Other One. Back in the centre of the camp, I sling the rifle over my shoulder. It can take the place of the cannon from now on. I search through the bedding and possessions that have been laid out near the light cone and the concrete-looking block and black mounds. Most of what I find is no use to me. My mind gives me the information as I find piece after piece of nondescript white card. Finally, after a route around near the mess I made earlier, I find a shiny key. It looks large and bronze, like the kind of key you'd use to open a door in an ancient magical castle. It looks ridiculous and patronising. I take the key over to the locked door, and when I hold it out close to the big keyhole symbol in the centre of the door, it clicks open and swings inward. Job done. I drop the key there and draw my pistol before heading in quickly. Inside is a long corridor. I move down it and enter the lone door at the end, emerging into a single large room. There's another light cone in here, 2 in fact, and a quick scan lets me see that the place is full of tables. Some are packed with objects and others have nothing on them. They run alongside both sides of the room at intervals. At the end of the room are some large boxes that look to be made of wood. Beside them, attached to the wall, are 4 large devices that, to my eyes at least, have the appearance of crosses. They're the kind the Romans once used to dish out torture and death. 2 are empty, and 2 have occupants. I take my eyes from them for now. It's when you let yourself get focused on something you can see that something you haven't seen yet pops up and kills you. I head to the nearest wall and move along it, checking behind each table as I go. If any of them are in here, they'll know I'm coming from the noise I made outside. Part of me thinks that if they were in here, they would have jumped out and done something by now. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I search. When I finally reach the end of the room, I stop. I'm stood in front of 2 of the crosses with bodies attached to them. One of them is still alive. He's a red. I know that because he's red. I leave him alone because he's red. The other one wears a uniform like mine, only not. Mine has a few specks of blood on it from cuts and scratches I've taken, but hers is drenched in the stuff. Drenched might be the wrong word now. Caked is more like it. The blood has been there a while and gone brown. It ran down from the hole where her eye used to be and left brown streaks on her cheek. It ran out from the holes in her chest and stomach and left brown patches on her uniform. It poured down from the socket where her arm once was and left a brown congealed pool on the floor. I wonder if there are things like flies buzzing around it. I look at her face. I don't know her. Perhaps I've met her at some point. The insignias on her remaining sleeve tell me that she could have been dropped with me, even though she's just a regular, but I don't recognise her if she did. Part of me wants to cut her down. That's the old part of me, the no soldier left behind part. A bigger part of me decides to leave her there and get going. That's the part that's kept me alive of late. What a shame. No purpose again. No saving you now, I tell her, as I reach up and close her unfocused remaining eye. Save me. I spin on instinct and raise my pistol. It was the man on the cross beside me, the red man, who spoke. I stick my gun in his face and study him. He has the same clothes as all the other reds, the exact same. He has the same face as all of them as well. A clean-shaven red face, bright red eyes. The exact same. I've got no way of knowing what he did to end up hanging there. I'd ask him, but I know that he'd have no idea what I was talking about. Save me, he says again. I look him in the eyes as I shake my head and holster my pistol. Why on earth would I do that? I ask, starting to move away. Because I can help you here, yes? Not the same as all the rest. After all, he continues, we are not on Earth, are we? True. You can understand me? I ask him. I can, he replies. How? This is a long story, he tells me, and we do not have time for it here, yes? I've got no place to be, I assure him. I've got all the time in the world. Not so, he says. This family has 26. You cannot tell me that you killed them all. I catch his drift straight away. and I don't need to do any calculations to know I've not killed that many. If there are more out there, then they might be coming back soon, especially with all the noise I've just made. That would be a real big problem. It's a big if, though. He might be lying. I can't hear any fear in his voice. I wouldn't be able to hear it even if it was there, but why would he lie? That survival instinct pops up again, whispers in my ear. Why take the risk of freeing him? Not taking risk has kept me alive so far, so I figure it must be a good strategy. Then again, what has it done apart from keep me alive? The biggest risk I've taken was coming here to find someone new like me. Well, now I've found her, and she's dead. Even if I could leave now, and leave this red man here, I would be making a choice that's most likely to keep me alive, but nothing else. What's the point in that? It doesn't matter anyway. I can't go back outside. I've got no choice but to stay, I tell him honestly. So you're out of luck. If I leave now, I'll freeze to death out there. There are ways through which we can move from place to place, he says. Ways that are covered from the skies and the winds. Ways I know. Ways I will show you, if you free me. What choice do I have then? If I believe what he says about the chance that there might be more coming back soon, and for some reason I'm inclined to, I'll need his help to get out of here. I slide out my knife and start to saw at the bands that hold him to the cross. It's that leather-like material that seems to be in abundance here. It's tough stuff to cut through, but at least it's a better result than if he'd been nailed through his wrists and ankles in the old Roman style. If he can't walk on his own when I get him off here, he's staying, and I'll come up with plan B. Thank you, he says as I cut. Do you understand everything I say? I ask. I do, he replies. Good. I stop and raise the blade in front of his eyes. Then understand this. The first minute I think you're a threat to me, or that you're no use to me, or that you're trying to fuck me over in any way, I'll take your head off. Understand? He nods his red head. I understand. When I freed both his hands, I held the knife out to him. You do the rest, I tell him, and remember what I said. I move backwards away from him and start to search through the items scattered on the tables. I face him the whole time, keeping an eye on him as he saws away awkwardly at the bonds wrapped around his ankles. The tables turn up nothing I can use, nothing I even understand the use of, and certainly no ammunition for the AK or my pistol, which were the main things I was hoping for. I throw the AK down on the nearest table in frustration. It scatters unknown junk across the floor. Some of it lands at the red man's feet. He's free now, bent down and rubbing at his ankles, head up, watching me. What? I ask him angrily. He stands up slowly with his hands out, my knife still held in one, in a gesture that shows he poses no threat. Then he walks across to one of the big wooden-looking boxes in the corner, bends down and slides the end of the blade easily through a piece of wood near the top. Not wood, then. He runs the knife down to the bottom and pulls open the halves of the box. He reaches in and produces a grey bag. What's that? I ask. It belonged to this one, he answers, gesturing towards the dead woman on the cross. I put out my hand and he throws me the bag with a grunt. I catch it. It's heavy. I look inside and smile, a little taste of home. 2 boxes of military-issue rail pistol rounds sit inside. After a moment of dreaming, I realise I've been so occupied with this little cachet that I've forgotten to watch the red man. When I look up, he's standing again and has another bag in one hand. He's reaching inside with the other. I drop my bag and draw down. Hold it! I shout at him. He stops. What's in that? I ask, pointing at the bag. It belongs to me, he answers, standing perfectly still. Not unless I say it does, I inform him. He takes his hand out slowly. I understand, he says, placing the bag carefully down on the floor. He places my knife beside it. Perhaps you will let me have these things when you trust me, yes? That might be a while, I tell him. Back away. He does, and I go over to collect the bag. I look inside. There's a small, plain-looking black box and a large selection of small tins that mean nothing to me. At the bottom is a pile of linked gold rings that look like some sort of jewellery. Maybe something he swiped from a body for use later on. Maybe he made a body out of whoever owned it before. Maybe that's why he was up on the cross. "You don't have to trust me," he says, "but trust this. We must leave now." I take both the new bags and shove them into my pack, then sling it and the now empty AK over my shoulder. I keep the pistol pointed at him. "You lead the way."